The strongest guild of the world. 1. Immortal. For collection, Grand Line. An uninhabited island. On the golden sand, the waves sometimes beat and splashed. A young man sat cross-legged on the shore, wearing white cropped trousers, with a bare upper body, looking a bit handsome, with black hair moving in the wind. The guild system, which means that your function is to let me create a guild in this world. The young man asked suddenly. There was no one in front of him, and those who didn't know might think the young man was talking to himself. But in fact the youth are in dialogue with the system within themselves. The young man's name is Yezii. As a traveler, Yezii naturally has a cheat that belongs to the traveler, and this cheat is called the guild system. At this moment, in Yezii's mind, the cold voice of the system sounded, answering Yezii's previous question. Yes, host, to be precise, the function of the system is to allow you to create the strongest guild across all realms. Across all realms. Yezii scratched his head, a little puzzled. Yes, in layman's terms, the guild you create exists in every world and is the strongest. So it is. Yezii nodded suddenly, then thought about it, and said. Then now you can talk about your function in detail. Okay, host. The system responded immediately, followed by a detailed introduction. This system has 4 functions: guild function, plunder function, dungeon function, and branch guild function. As the name suggests, the guild function can create a guild and invite others to join. The plundering function can randomly plunder a certain faction or area in a world, and you can get a lot of materials and rewards after successful plundering. Dungeon function, open the guild dungeon by turning in devil fruit, and you can get random rewards for clearing the dungeon. Branch function, hand in 5 devil fruits, you can randomly draw the world to choose whether to create a branch. There is a teleportation station between the branch and the main guild to communicate with each other. Basically I understand. Yezii nodded and understood the capabilities of his system, but there may be some small functions that need to be explored by himself. But Yezii didn't care, and said directly. Then should I create a guild now? Yes, host, only after creating a guild can you receive the novice gift pack and enable other functions. Well, let's start creating a guild. Yezii was also a little excited at this time. After all, it is rare to encounter such a thing as 10,000 years, not to mention having a cheat like a system. Maybe in the future, he can live forever and suppress all realms. How can you not be excited? Creating a guild is very simple, you just need to choose the name of the guild and the guild mark, and the other systems will solve it by itself. Okay, let's call the guild Immortal. Yezii decided directly. This name is not a random thought, but a thought, and the meaning is also obvious. Yezii wants his guild to be immortal and always stand on the top of the world. As for the guild mark, I made it, a sword, and then surrounded by golden dragons on the left and right sides. Are you sure? Of course. Yezii nodded directly without hesitation. Successful, guild name, Immortal. The guild badge is being produced, and the production is complete. Accompanied by the sound of the system falling slowly. Immediately afterwards, Yezii discovered that on his right arm, a golden emblem suddenly appeared. It was a long sword with mysterious patterns and 2 hacky 5-clawed golden dragons on both sides surrounding him, showing all of them nobility and majesty. The guild badge has been made. Since the guild was successfully created, will the guild benefit be drawn? Guild welfare? What is that? Yezii asked. Guild benefits are benefits that belong to everyone in the guild. As long as those who join the guild can enjoy it, you have a chance to draw guild benefits for free. Then let's draw. Yezii nodded, and became curious as to what benefits would be drawn. And since it's a benefit, it shouldn't be bad. Soon. A huge roulette wheel appeared in front of Yezii's eyes. Then it started to rotate slowly, from slow to fast, then from fast to slow, and finally stopped slowly. Congratulations, host, you have drawn the guild benefit, immortality. Huh? Immortality? Coincidence. Why is it exactly the same as the guild's name? Yezii was stunned when he heard Fufu's name, and then said, "Tell me about the role of this benefit." Immortal, anyone who joins the guild can live immortally and look immortal. Call. When he saw the effect, Yezii's breathing became rapid in an instant. This is true immortality. Immortal, life immortal. This benefit is too generous. Yezii smacked the corners of his mouth and said in shock, and it took a long time for him to recover. From now on, that means he is an immortal person with an infinite lifespan. But Yezii is also very clear that even if he has infinite lifespan, it is only lifespan. When facing a powerful enemy, if he does not have enough strength, he will still be killed. After all, this benefit refers to longevity, not immortality. Therefore, the strength still needs to be improved. Host, you have a novice gift package, would you like to extract it? Of course. How could Yezii refuse to be prompted by the system? Extract the novice package, congratulations on getting the following items. A random copy card. A random inheritance card. There are only 2 cards in the novice package. But it was certain that these 2 cards were a surprise to Yezii, because these 2 cards, the dungeon cards, could allow the guild to have dungeons. The dungeon will definitely produce some incredible rewards, which can be used to improve the strength of guild members in the future. And the inheritance card is even more incredible. The inheritance card, as the name suggests, is inheritance. After using it, Yezii can obtain a mysterious inheritance, which may be some strong inheritance, or it may be weak. But it definitely helped Yezii's strength. 2. Inheritance of Jiwu Emperor, seeking collection, use all these 2 cards. Yezii ordered. Yes. The sound of the system sounded, and the 2 cards immediately turned into streamers and escaped into the void. Immediately afterwards, the alert tone sounded. Use a random copy card, congratulations to the host for getting a copy, Grand Forest. Using a random inheritance card, congratulations to host for your inheritance, Extreme Martial Emperor. Hiss. Hearing the prompt tone, Yezii's face appeared shocked again. Copy, he knows. And inheritance, he also knows. Because these 2 rewards all come from one place. DNF. It is the so-called Dungeon and Warrior. This is a game, and the copy of Grand Forest is the first adventure map in this game. It is divided into several areas. There are Tauren, goblins, elves and other monsters, which is considered a good one. The place of experience is that I don't know what the rewards are. As for the inheritance of that Jiwu Huang, the so-called inheritance means that after using it, Yezii can obtain all the abilities of the Supreme Martial Emperor. And what is Jiwu Huang? This is a profession for fighters in the dungeon. It is a profession after the Second Awakening, and the power it possesses is extremely terrifying. In short, it is the existence of physical limits. If you have played Jiwu Huang, you basically know that many players will compare Jiwu Huang to the guy in Hokage Ninja, the guy who almost kicked out the finale of the 4th Ninja War. Because Jiwu Huang's strongest ability is also the foot. With one foot straight down, everything turned into powder. This is Jiwu Huang. Host, please pay attention, start accepting inheritance. The voice of the system came in my mind. Immediately afterwards, a large amount of information poured into Yezii's mind, and at the same time, a stream of light suddenly appeared, wrapping Yezii's body, seeming to be strengthening it so that his body can bear the weight. Stubborn information. This information made Yezii very painful. His head seemed to explode, and his face was full of pain, and he could hardly help screaming. But fortunately, Yezii endured it. After almost a quarter of an hour, the sharp pain slowly dissipated. At this time, Yezhi was already dripping with cold sweat, but still looked excited, lying on the ground with a smile. Is this the feeling of power? With a light fist, Yezhi could clearly feel the power contained in it, but the most terrifying thing was his legs, which contained extremely terrifying power. In fact, after accepting the inheritance of Jiwu Emperor, Yezhou's own strength is already extremely terrifying, but he is not fully familiar with this power. Therefore, even if he accepts the inheritance of Jiwu Emperor, he has at this time. The strength of Ji Wuhuang is only about 2/10 of the true strength of Emperor Wushu. But even so, Yezhi's strength at this time has reached an extremely powerful level. At least in this world, he can be considered a strong man. And as time passed, when Yezhi began to get acquainted with the terrifying power in his body, if Yezhi completely controlled it, then it might not be a problem to suppress all the strong in this world. Don't think about this first. Yezhi shook his head, and then he disappeared in place. When he appeared again, Yezhi had already appeared in a huge palace. This is like a royal palace, but the light is a bit dim. At the highest height in the center of the palace, only a suspended crystal emits a faint gleam. In the deepest part of the palace, there is a step. At the top of the step is a king's chair. Behind the chair, a huge immortal guild emblem stands there, showing Haki. That is his seat. And this palace is the guild base. It does not exist in this world, it is in the void. As long as you join the guild, you can enter the guild base through the guild badge. After entering the guild base, Yezhi discovered that there are still many small functions in the guild. It's like a guild store, guild missions, and so on. Among them, the guild store sells some things. Anyone can put the items or abilities they don't need into the guild store to sell, thereby earning points. Any item will be judged by the system, and then the points judged by the system will be used for evaluation. For sales and sales proceeds, the system will deduct a 10% handling fee. The points are also the common currency in the guild. Points are required to buy things in the guild store, and points are also required to enter the dungeon. Of course, Yezhi is free as the chairman, but you still need to spend points to buy things, just a discount of the price. But for now, there are no products in the guild store. All of these require Yezhi and future guild members to accumulate slowly. You can also use the plundering function. After plundering, Yezhi, as the guild president, can choose to put the plundered materials in the guild store for sale. By the way, if any guild member sells things in the guild store, the deducted 10% handling fee becomes Yezhi. Everything is in its infancy. Forget it, let's take a step and take a look. Yezhi shook his head and left the guild base. Although he is the president of the guild, he will not invite others to come in casually and become a member of the guild. This guild is destined to be different from any other guild. The nature and welfare of the Immortal Guild are destined. Without strong strength, special abilities, and certain talents, it is impossible to enter the Immortal Guild. What immortality has to take is the elite line. Anyone in the guild in the future will be a first-class powerhouse. In this world, it seems that there are not many people who can be invited by Yezhi and can be successfully invited in. After thinking about it, there are only those few. Chapter 3:3, Strength, go to sea. Let's try your strength first. Yezhi murmured, left the guild base, and reappeared on the shore again. As for the dungeon, he did not rush to go, but planned to try his current strength first, familiarize himself with it, and then leave the island. He knows that this world is the world of One Piece, but he doesn't know the current time. In this world, Yezhi currently wants to invite only 3 characters to join the guild: Doflamingo, Hawkeye, and Enel. The reason is also very simple. These 3 people have a high chance of joining. Doflamingo is a hero and has his own ambitions, but he will not refuse, and absolutely cannot refuse, because of his endless lifespan. Mihawk is a person who pursues kendo, but joins the guild, but can contact other worlds and understands swordsmanship in other worlds. He also has an endless lifespan that allows Mihawk to make his kendo stronger and stronger, so he should not refuse. The last Enel, not to mention, is also an ambitious guy. He wants to be a god, so do you want to be a god in other worlds? By the way, anyone who joins the guild will lose everything they get from the guild when they are kicked out of the guild by Yejo. Standing on the beach, facing the warm sunshine, Yezii raised the corner of his mouth, waved his right hand gently, and a spark emerged from his fingertips. This is also one of the abilities of the Supreme Martial Emperor. Summon Hellfire. However, this flame cannot be like Maramara fruit, it can only be attached to the body to increase damage. But even so, it is very useful. Shaking his head, the sparks dissipated. Flash step. With a secret thought in his heart, the next moment, Yezii's figure disappeared in place, the figure appeared and disappeared from time to time like a flicker, and quickly moved towards the forest on the island. Flickering is one of the abilities of the Supreme Martial Emperor. It is an alternative 6-style shaving. It is also a powerful explosive force to reach the limit speed, so as to move forward. There are skills in it, which is much more convenient than shaving. And it's faster than shaving. Extreme Martial Emperor is a profession in the game. In the game, each skill has a cooldown time, but in the real world, it is not. As long as you have enough physical strength, there is no problem even if you keep using it. Inside the forest. After all, the world of One Piece is different from the Earth, even the size of ordinary beasts is extremely huge, comparable to those ancient dinosaurs on the Earth. Roar. As soon as he stepped into the forest, a huge mammoth rushed forward, and the ground shook slightly, as if it was about to trample Yezii. Knee punch. With a low voice in his heart, Yezii's figure flashed, and he greeted him without fear. The strength of his whole body gathered at his knees and slammed into the mammoth in front of him. Suddenly, terrifying power erupted, and a powerful shockwave erupted from Yezii's knee. Boom! The mammoth's huge body suddenly fell to the ground, and on its face, a bloody wound hole could be seen, and blood was gushing out of it. Too weak, I can't test my current strength at all, I can only use it to familiarize myself with strength. Yezii said disappointedly. Although these beasts looked huge, they were really weak for him now. It is easy to suppress it. But it doesn't matter, just take it as a skill. I'm just hungry, so let's bake some meat first. Yezii shook his head, not too entangled. There are many strong people in this world, and he wants to test his own strength. There is always a chance. Huh. Yezii stretched out his right hand, forcibly tore off a piece of flesh and blood from the mammoth, and then roasted it. Time passed leisurely. Before I knew it, 3 days passed. 3 days later. On the shore of the island, Yezii was still wearing cropped pants, shirtless, facing the sea breeze, with a comfortable look on his face, and said indifferently, "It's time to leave." 3 days was enough for him to master his own strength, and as a result, he almost slaughtered half of the beasts on this island. And now, the strength is almost proficient, Yezii also estimates that he can leave. Thinking of this, there was no hesitation, Yezii's mind moved, and the figure suddenly disappeared. The next moment, Yezii's figure appeared on the sea, and it can be seen that when Yezii landed on the sea with one foot, the next moment, a powerful explosive force suddenly erupted, and the figure flew away. The whole person is like running on the sea, but every time he takes a step, he will use a powerful explosive force to make himself stand on the sea. This is also one of the strengths of the Supreme Martial Emperor, but to be precise, it is a technique of using the leg strength honed by the Supreme Martial Emperor when they grow up. There are no charts and no permanent pointers. Yezii chose a direction and ran away. Rough waves on the blue sea, seagulls gliding past in the sky. After running for an unknown time, Yezii also felt a little tired, but at this moment, a small black dot suddenly appeared in Yezii's sight. "Is that a pirate ship?" Yezii murmured, when he saw the ship, especially the pirate flag that moved with the wind on the flagpole of the ship. The corners of his mouth suddenly raised, and his eyes flashed with light, and he also had some plans in his heart. Render. Whoosh. With a move, Yezii headed straight for the pirate ship. This is the Grand Line. Although it is not as good as New World, the pirates are not comparable to places like the Four Seas. They all have some strength, although they are not strong. And this pirate ship was very lively at this time. They were the Thug Pirates, and the captain Thug Lake offered a reward of 47 million Baileys, which was a good reward on the Grand Line. And today, they are celebrating because they robbed a rich merchant ship and got a lot of money and supplies. And also at this time, a figure suddenly appeared on the plywood of the pirate ship. Chapter 4:4, Dance of Lightning. The pirates on the boat were a little dizzy because of drinking, but there were still many people who were sober. When Yezii suddenly appeared on the deck, 3 pirates suddenly noticed Yezii. As the saying goes, drinking and being courageous, even if Yezii suddenly appeared, the 3 pirates didn't have any fear, instead they roared. "Who is it? Suddenly, is it demon fruit power? Boy, kneel down for Laozi." Following the roar of the 3 pirates, the other pirates also came to sober, looked to the side, and then noticed the stranger Yezii. "The guy I've never seen before is not from our pirate group. Who is it? Could it be that we sneaked up when we just had a drink? Hey, whoever he is, the kid came just right, he killed you to cheer up, ha ha ha." The pirates laughed wantonly and didn't pay attention to Yezii, which is also normal. Some have already pulled out the machete, with bloodthirsty smiles on their faces, walking towards Yezii step by step. Seeing this, Yezii didn't care, just smiled and said, "Can I see your captain? Meet our captain? Do you want to join our pirate group, kid? Ha ha ha, it seems that our thug pirate group is still very famous. That is, after all, our captain is still a mob with a reward of 47 million. Boy, you are not qualified to see our captain. If you want to see our captain, it depends on whether you can survive Laozi's machete." The pirates laughed, with disdain in their eyes. After all, Yezii looked like he was only in his 20s, and he didn't have the slightest murderous look on his body. He looked ordinary. Although he had a good figure, there was no threat in their eyes. It was like a weak lamb. This kind of person will not be put in their eyes. "Since you can't let me see the captain of this ship, your nonsense is a bit too noisy," Yezii said slowly, a cold light flashing in his eyes. In the next moment, Yezii's figure disappeared. Immediately afterwards, Yezii appeared behind a pirate, almost instantly, kicking out his right leg. Puff! The horrible power broke out, and the pirate was not kicked out, but the terrifying power and speed exploded by Yezii, which penetrated the abdomen in an instant. Almost before it had time to feel pain, it was already dead. The blood was spilling and gushing out. Seeing this scene, Yezii looked a little uncomfortable, but shook his head without paying attention. "You've been prepared for this kind of murder," Yezii murmured, noticing the faint look of fear that could not help appearing on the faces of some other pirates. Yezii disappeared again, and said indifferently in his heart, "After all, in this kind of world, it is either to kill or to be killed." Dance of Lightning. In the game, Lightning Dance is a monster-clearing skill of the Emperor Wuhuang. It can quickly attack between enemies one by one, hold the enemies in the air and gather them together, and finally give a powerful blow to the end. But this is reality, and it is naturally impossible to stay in the air. In reality, the Dance of Lightning relies on terrifying foot power and counter-force to shuttle between enemies like lightning. As Yezii's voice fell, Yezii's figure burst out, kicking a pirate's body. Terrifying power erupted, and Yezi kicked his head abruptly, and the next moment, Yezi appeared next to another pirate again, still breaking out a powerful blow. The speed is like lightning, with only after images in the air. Whenever Yezi appears next to a pirate, there is the death of a pirate. The blood spilled on the deck, exuding a fishy smell. 1 minute later. Kang dang! A machete fell to the ground, and a pirate looked terrified. His legs were shaking uncontrollably, and he knelt in front of Yezi and collapsed completely. I was wrong, no, don't kill me, don't. On the deck, apart from Yezi, there were only 5 or 6 pirates left, and they were basically the same as this pirate at this time. Think of Yezi as a demon. That terrifying strength made them unable to produce the slightest resistance. With just a few breaths, 20 or 30 pirates died, so how could they not be afraid? Considering that the few remaining pirates might still be useful, Yezi didn't kill all of them, but casually wiped the bloodline on his feet with the clothes on a corpse, and said indifferently, "Where is your captain? Because the ship and the captain are so happy today, they have drunk a lot and are drunk, so they are sleeping in it now." Kaido, a pirate who was shocked, didn't dare to neglect, his tone was very respectful. "Okay." Yezi nodded and said, "Lead the way." "Yes, yes. The pirate nodded quickly, and immediately got up to lead the way. As the pirate stepped into the cabin, the pirate in front came out of a room with fear. This is the captain's room." "Okay." Yezi could hear the snoring noise coming from inside. The captain's room seemed a bit spacious, and there were several boxes of treasures in it at this time, which seemed to plunder a rich resource. On the bed in the room, a sturdy-looking man was sleeping naked and hugging a woman who looked good. The woman was obviously robbed, with many scars on her body. But Yezi didn't care about this, just raised his foot to the bed, and then he didn't stop at all. "Lift the right foot and kick it out." Boom! Ryan, the captain of the thug pirate group, was kicked into the air and hit the wall severely. "Are you awake? If you wake up, sit down quietly and listen to what I said." Looking at Ryan, who was getting up from the ground with a grin, Yezi sat on a box full of treasures, with Erlang's legs tilted, and said calmly. Chapter 5:5, Guild Trainee Members. FK, kid, who are you? Do you know who Laozi is? Ryan grinned, roaring angrily, and there was a vaguely murderous intent in his eyes. He was originally dreaming, and he was kicked to wake him up. Undoubtedly he was extremely angry. He is a pirate offering a reward of 47 million. Someone dared to treat himself like this. He even wanted to kill Yezi severely. But at the next moment, boom! A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Yezi's body. This aura is not Conqueror's haki, but is derived from the oppression of strength. In the eyes of people weaker than Yezi, this aura is terrifying, making people feel like a big mountain pressing on the body, uncomfortable. Feeling this momentum, Ryan's face suddenly changed, with cold sweat dripping on his forehead, and finally he understood one thing. The young man in front of him is a terrifying strong man. There are many strong men on the sea, and the pirates who are not strong enough to survive in this blue sea must either have enough eyesight or have enough consciousness. Ryan has no consciousness, but he has eyesight. He has been to New World, but when he first went to New World, he encountered 2 pirate battles with a reward of more than 300 million. He was scared back. Since then, he has don't dare to go to New World again. He had always heard that a reward of over 100 million is the threshold to enter the New World, the door to survival in the New World. He didn't believe it, but since then, he has believed it. And the aura of the person in front of him unexpectedly made him feel even more terrifying than the 2 people who offered a reward of more than 300 million. What does this show? Ryan is not a fool, he can figure it out all at once. His face was slightly pale, Ryan swallowed his saliva, the killing intent in his eyes had long since disappeared, and there were only fears hidden in the depths. Forcibly suppressing the inexplicable panic in his heart, Ryan said solemnly, "I wonder why you are here." Snapped. Yezee snapped his fingers, and said indifferently, "In fact, the purpose is very simple, there is only one thing, follow me." Yes, Yezee has to do such a thing. Although Yezee decided that the people in the guild must be elites, this is true, Yezee is still insisting. But one thing that must be considered is that it is impossible for the elite members to do everything in the guild. Sometimes there are some small things to do. Therefore, Yezee decided to recruit some trainee members. The trainee members are different from the official members in the guild. The trainee members have a time limit, which can be several months or several years. However, if the time is up and Yezee is not satisfied, they will be automatically kicked out of the guild. And there is no need to recruit too many trainee members. Just like in the pirate world, you only need to recruit some captains of the pirate ship. Because a captain has dozens of subordinates at the lowest level, and even hundreds of subordinates. Of course, except for some pirate groups that take the elite route. There are many things these people can do for Yezee. They sail on the sea every day. They can be Yezee's eyeliner, Yezee's intelligence source, and they can help Yezee find devil fruit and obtain devil fruit. Follow you. Hearing this, Ryan couldn't help but his pupils shrank, and he hesitated. The so-called follow, to put it bluntly, is actually surrender and become someone else's. It's just that Ryan is also very clear that he is not a strong person, at least in the eyes of the New World group of people, he is weak. In this way, what is there to be liked by others? Why do you want to find yourself and let yourself surrender? Don't worry. Yezee seemed to see Ryan's doubts, got up slowly, and said calmly, "You can regard this as a gift, or as an opportunity. If you grasp it well, perhaps in the future, you will be able to become famous in the sea and become a strong man like Shishibukai. You are lucky, because the first pirate ship I encountered was yours." "I understand." Ryan nodded, feeling clear. Yezee's words cleared all his doubts. "It was only because I was the first ship that others encountered that I chose myself. In that case, I am willing to follow you, my lord." Ryan did not hesitate too much, and said directly, kneeling on one leg, showing his respect. Although he was not willing to surrender, he also knew that the situation was involuntary, and if he did not surrender, he might be dead. With two choices, he would naturally not choose to die. Very good, very smart choice. Yezee couldn't help raising a faint smile on his face when Ryan answered. Immediately afterwards, Yezee snapped his fingers again. At the same time, in Ryan's mind, a cold prompt sound suddenly sounded. "You are eligible to be invited by the Immortal Guild. Would you like to join?" "Who?" Hearing the sound, Ryan shouted out suddenly and looked around. "Don't be nervous, just agree to it," Yezee said lightly. Yes." Hearing Yezee's words, Ryan nodded quickly, knowing that the voice should have been made by the person in front of him. Immediately, Ryan chose to agree. Successfully joined the Immortal Guild. Congratulations on becoming a trainee member of the Immortal Guild. Time, 1 year. During this period, you will enjoy guild benefits, immortality, life is immortal. You can use your points to make a copy of the game. You are not eligible to participate in looting. You are eligible for store shopping. You are not eligible to enter the guild base. When you leave the guild, everything you get from the guild will be taken back. The guild president has the right to kick you out of the guild at any time. Chapter 6, Time, Place, Enter the copy. For collection, this is. Ryan was stunned when he heard the prompt sound in his ear. His face was full of disbelief and shock. He heard all these prompts clearly, and he didn't understand what some of them meant, but he heard the benefits of this guild. Immortal. Life is immortal. This, big, Lord, dare to ask this immortality, but it's true. Ryan looked at Yezii with excitement and disbelief on his face, and asked in a trembling tone. Yezii didn't answer too much, just said lightly. You only have 1 year. If you don't satisfy me after a year, you should know the result. Ryan knows. Although Yezii didn't answer his question, Ryan had already got the answer, and he could still feel the surging vitality in his body, that is to say, this immortality is very likely to be true. And you can live forever. Call. Ryan couldn't help but gasp for breath. He looked so excited that it was hard to hide. But soon, he got nervous again. He didn't know how to make Yezii satisfied, how to make himself become a formal member from that trainee, so that he could stay in the guild permanently. Tell me where I am now. Yezii sat on the treasure chest again and asked directly. After determining the location, he can determine the next destination. Yes, the current sea area is near Alabasta, not far from Upside Down Mountain. Ryan hurriedly Kaido. Is Alabasta, the country where Vivi is located, is the home base of Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai. Crocodile. Maybe it's a good candidate. Yezii murmured, thinking. After thinking about it for a while, Yezii found that Crocodile was indeed a good candidate. Sand fruit itself had great potential. Although he was a bit conceited, he was also in charge of the Baroque Work Club. This is a force, although it is not powerful, but there are many people, and it has its own intelligence and collection capabilities. You can help yourself do a lot of things. How many years has Roger been dead? Yezii asked again. Sir, One Piece has been dead for 20 years. Although it was unclear why the lord in front of him asked this well-known thing, Ryan didn't dare to think too much, and still answered hurriedly. 22, that is to say, the time is now 2 years before the start of the lift. Yezii nodded slightly, with a plan in mind, and then said. Get me a room and go straight to Alabasta. Yes. Ryan nodded, and immediately got up and put on his clothes quickly. After all, he only had one big pants on his body now. After putting on his clothes, Ryan hurriedly led the way to arrange a room for Yezii, then hurriedly cleaned Yezii himself, and then was kicked out by Yezii. But before driving out, Yezii said slowly. There are still many functions in the guild, you can explore by yourself. With Yezii's words, Ryan came to the deck and knew everything on the deck, but in the end he just asked the remaining few people to clean up the corpse, and then went back to his room and began to grope. And this time, Yezii was also sitting cross-legged on the bed, looking at the blue virtual template in front of him. The content on the template is a copy of the guild. Guild copy, Grand's Forest. The only copy in the guild. I don't know what I'll get, so I'll try it first. Yezii said to himself, since he got the guild dungeon, he hasn't fought yet, and now it's just right. Besides, there is nothing in the guild store at the moment, so it's time to go to the guild dungeon to get some things and put them on the guild store. Enter the copy. Yezii secretly said in his heart. Ding. A crisp prompt sounded. Next moment, Yezii felt that the world was spinning for a while, and then, when Yezii saw the surroundings, he found that he was already in a forest. The forest is dimly lit, the trees are lush, and it is vaguely cold. This is the continent of Arad. Grand's Forest. The Grand Forest is very large and is divided into several areas, each of which has its own powerful monsters, the so-called boss. I just don't know which area I'm in now. Yezii murmured, but then he knew. Clear mission, kill the Thunder Gyno. Lord of Thunder Gyno? Is the area I'm in a thunderous ruin? Thunderbolt Gyno is the boss of Thunder Ruins. He is a white goblin. Although he is a goblin, he controls the power of Thunderbolt and is very powerful. I just don't know what reward it will bring me. Yezii raised the corner of his mouth with a smile, raised his feet and walked towards the front. Soon, in front of Yezii, there were a few small figures. They were 5 goblins. They were all armed with weapons, either mace or machete. They looked a bit fierce. Humans, human beings. I haven't eaten human flesh for a long time, I'm drooling. Catch him, let's go back and dedicate it to Lord Gainyo. The goblins laughed wildly. But when their voices fell, Shunpo, Yezii's figure had already arrived in front of the goblins. Noisy. With 2 words faintly uttered, Yezii's right hand suddenly stretched out and grabbed the head of a goblin, and his power exploded instantly. Boom! The head of the goblin in his hand was crushed abruptly, and the red and white objects splashed around and fell on the ground. Tell me, Gainyo's location. Yezii looked at the other 4 goblins and asked slowly. Kill. Damn human, die for me. Kill him. The goblins roared angrily and rushed towards Yezii, wielding their weapons. Seeing this, Yezii shook his head helplessly. Trouble, it looks like we have to fight all the way. Next moment, Yezii figure disappeared again. Chapter 7, Verse something. Lele Gainyo, 4 collection, Dance of Lightning. Yezii gave a low drink, and his figure flashed between the 4 goblins. Bang bang bang. Whenever Yezii appeared next to a goblin, a big bloody hole appeared on a goblin, which was blasted out by Yezii with a punch. However, after a few breaths, the 4 goblins turned into cold corpses and fell to the ground. And just now. Whoa! A golden glow flashed. Yezii opened his eyes suddenly, and a touch of surprise appeared. Because I saw 2 goblins on them, a few things burst out and spilled on the ground. This is explosive stuff. Yezii said a little funny, never expected that he would truly experience the feeling of killing monsters. But Yezii picked up those few things anyway. There are 3 in total. A card, a pair of shoes and hundreds of gold coins. Gold coins are good things. They are universal goods after all. As for the cards and shoes, things like gold are considered a kind of universal currency in any world, and the shoes and cards surprised Yezii again. The card is a pet card, yes, it is a pet card, not a pet egg in the DNF game, but a pet card, a goblin pet card. After using it, you can get a goblin pet. It's useless. Yezii shook his head and didn't have any thoughts of using it. Goblin pets, let alone ugly, and weak in combat power. If it were Gainyo's goblins, he wouldn't mind. Use. Unfortunately it is not. And those shoes are a bit interesting. Worn-out combat boots, can increase movement speed by 4%. Is this special equipment? System, why does the equipment explode in the dungeon? Don't you get rewards every time you pass it? Yezii asked in his heart. That's not the case. Something will be exploded during the dungeon, but it depends on personal luck, but the rewards will be more generous after clearing the level. Fine. Yezii nodded when he heard the words. He didn't bother with this. Instead, he took out his shoes, looked at his bare feet, and put them on. After crossing this world, he has been barefoot, and forgot to get a pair of shoes before, and now it happens. Putting on the shoes, Yezii really feels his body is much lighter. Once the body is lighter, the speed will naturally increase a lot. Although it's only 4%, it's okay. Shaking his head, Yezii moved on. Roar. Just like the levels in the game, every time Yezii moves forward, some monsters will appear, either goblins or Tauren. And this time, a Tauren appeared in front of Yezii, who was twice the size of Whitebeard, holding a huge axe in his hand, and looking a little horrible. However, the look on Yezi's face remained unchanged, still calm. Roar! The Tauren roared, and immediately rushed towards Yezi, and the ground trembled slightly as he walked. When he came to Yezi, the Tauren spouted white breath from his nose, swinging a huge axe and slamming down at Yezi. With the power of a Tauren, this axe can easily split an ordinary person in half from the head to the lower body. And the next moment, Yezi jumped slightly. Suddenly, he avoided the Tauren's chopping, and his figure appeared in the midair behind the Tauren. Then, Yezi let out a low drink. Strike hard. Yezi slammed his right foot towards the Tauren, and on his leg, hellfire spurted. Boom! The ground vibrated gently, and a big hole was blasted out, and there was a big hole in the abdomen of the Tauren, and blood kept flowing. Whoa! Another golden light flashed. Something exploded. Yezi picked up things. There were two things. Hundreds of gold coins, and a samurai sword, dachi. The Tato from DNF is naturally extraordinary. Its hardness is even close to that of the good knives in the pirate world. Moreover, it is sharper than the good knives and has additional attributes, and is better than the good knives. It's a pity that I'm not interested, it just happens to be put on the guild store. Yezi said, immediately taking action. Should the katana, Allard, be put on the guild store? Yes. The katana is worth 100 points, and it was successfully put on the shelf. In addition, once any item is put on the shelves, it will be copied by the system itself and can be purchased unlimited times. Yes, powerful operation. Yezi was surprised after hearing this. It seemed that if I took a devil fruit to the guild store in the future, wouldn't it be an unlimited purchase? That's a good way to get devil fruit, but I don't know what the price will be. Yezi felt his chin and thought, and soon shook his head without thinking too much. After all, there is no devil fruit, and it's useless to think about it, and everything will have to wait until you have devil fruit. Next Yezi continued on. I encountered several waves of monsters, all goblins. After being easily wiped out by Yezi, nothing came out. Soon, Yezi slowly got deeper and deeper, and finally came to an area with a swampy area, and here, Yezi also saw the crying Gainyo. It was a white goblin with some kind of strange texture. Holding a machete in his hand, blue thunders also appeared on his body from time to time. In Gainyo's body, there are also more than a dozen goblins looking towards the side. Human, you dare to invade my territory and look for death. Gainyo said coldly, waved the scimitar in his hand, and roared. Kill! Kill him! Then stew him. Human flesh, I haven't eaten it for a long time. I'm almost starving to death. I really want to kill him and taste it. Kill him and you can eat human flesh. The goblins laughed excitedly and rushed towards Yezi. In their eyes, Yezi was already a fragrant food. Chapter 8, Thunder, Void Necklace, Reward plus more, Flame Burning Step. Yezi thought about it, watching the goblins rushing over. On his legs, hellfire suddenly appeared, wrapped around his legs. As the flames spewed, the ground began to burn. The temperature in the air started to rise slowly. Fire kick. There was another low drink. Yezi leaped into the air, and flames erupted on his right leg. For an instant, like a fire lotus, Yezi blasted toward the front with a wide range. Boom! The ground shook, and the flames directly engulfed the 7 or 8 goblins in front, turning them into scorched corpses. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and Yezi didn't stop in the slightest. When he landed, his figure suddenly disappeared. He appeared behind a goblin, his right fist blasted out, and a powerful force erupted. The head of the goblin blasted into the ground and was directly exploded. In the blink of an eye, 9 goblins died. When the other goblins saw this, they were a little frightened, and even paused slightly. But Gaino got angry and roared. Damn humans, go to death. Boom. The blue thunder slammed down from the sky. This is thunder, which is Gaino's ability. However, Yezii reacted quickly, and when he jumped back, he avoided the fierce thunder bombardment. It's interesting, thunder, a good move. Yezii raised the corner of his mouth and smiled faintly. The power of falling thunder is indeed good, but it is a pity that Gaino's strength is strong, but in front of Yejo's eyes, it is still weak. Dance of lightning. In an instant, Yezii flicked like lightning, shuttled back and forth between the remaining dozen goblins. What? Screams sounded from time to time. After a while, when Yezii stopped, the dozen or so goblins made a bang, bloody wounds surfaced on their bodies, blood spurted, and even more, their heads shattered and died instantly. Ah! Damn human! Seeing this scene, Gaino became even more angry, his eyes turned red, and all his men were killed, making it extremely angry, almost unable to bear it. Rumbling. There was thunder in the sky. After a while, there were several consecutive thunders falling from the sky. After all, thunder and lightning is one of the forces of nature, so powerful that Yezii doesn't want to bear it. Although with his current physique, he wouldn't be seriously injured even if he could bear it, but minor injuries are inevitable. Shunpo. With a thought, Yezii appeared in the distance, avoiding the falling thunder directly. Immediately afterwards, he made a fist with his right hand, and the fist burst into flames. You deserve to die too. Yezii stared at Gaino and said calmly, his voice cold. Next moment, the power under Yezii's feet exploded, and the whole person burst out, suddenly rushing in front of Gaino, and then the fist wrapped in hellfire also blasted out with a punch. Fire and punch. No. A look of horror appeared in Gaino's eyes, and he was afraid in his heart. He hurriedly turned around and wanted to escape, but it was too late. Boom. Gaino's body is still standing, but its head is shattered under the punch. Together with the blood spattered into the air, it was evaporated because of the fire of hell. Ding. Gaino was detected to be killed. Congratulations on clearing the dungeon, Grand Forest Thundering Ruins. Start to issue rewards, Nether Necklace, Thunderfall Skill Book, Gold Coin X 1000, Sacred Tool Plodisiu. A burst of prompts sounded in the ear. Good harvest. Listening to the voice, Yezii raised the corner of his mouth, and suddenly smiled with excitement. At the same time, Yezii didn't rush to leave the copy, but looked around. Although they were all disgusting broken bodies, there were also some exploded gold coins, which were put away by Yejo one by one, and then left. Guild base. In the dim hall, Yezii sat on the throne. I was playing with the void necklace in my hand. This necklace didn't look special, except that there was a dark gem in a black rope, which looked like it was just a somewhat expensive piece of jewelry. But otherwise, the void necklace is made by the people in the Arad continent, that is, in the world of DNF, using void magic stones. It is a space item that can store things. The space inside is neither big nor small, with 10 square meters, which is pretty good. This time I have a good harvest, except for the void necklace. The Thunderfall skill book is also good, and Prodisiu, this thing he doesn't use, but it is a magic weapon, powerful, and even the supreme one in this world. Quick Knife is far behind. But even if he doesn't use it, this thing is also useful, and it is very attractive to Hawkeye. Shaking his head, Yezii said slowly. Put the Nether Necklace, Thunderfall skill book, and Proteus all on the guild store. Yes. Void Necklace, 5,000 points. The Thunder skill book, 3,000 points. Plodisiu, 25,000 points. So, do I have a total of about 33 points now? Yezii smiled. In the guild store, anyone who puts items on the shelves can get the corresponding points. This is also the main source of points, but items that are listed once will no longer be available. This is also a limitation. Shaking his head, Yezii opened the guild store, and without hesitation, directly purchased the Void Necklace and the Thunderfall skill book. He is the guild president, and he can buy it at only a discount of 10%, and the total cost is only 800 points. Yezii had plans to buy it instead of keeping it for his own use. After being put on the guild store, you also have points and you can easily buy them, and if someone else buys them in the future, you can also get points. But if you used it by yourself before, you couldn't put it on the guild store. Which one is more important? Yezii will choose. Chapter 9, Alabasta, Flowers plus more, bring the Nether Necklace and use the Thunderfall skill book. Suddenly, Yezii has a feeling in the dark, as long as he has a thought, there will be thunder. I have time to try. Yezii murmured, smiled slightly, and then he held his chin with one hand and closed his eyes slightly, as if falling asleep, sitting there quietly, waiting for the time to pass. In the dim hall, a little empty. On that throne, Yezii faintly, with a faint aura radiating from him, like a noble king. The pirate ship sailed on the sea. Several pirates were sitting on the deck discussing some interesting things, but at this moment, a pirate suddenly asked, "What did you say our boss was doing when he fell to the ground these few days? Why is it that you keep shrinking in the room and can't come out?" "You ask me, who do I ask? Who knows? It's probably thinking about our next plan. The boss has driven those women out. He must be planning something. Don't say, all of this was caused after the demon entered. It may be that the boss and the demon are plotting something. These pirates are naturally members of the thug pirate group." In the cabin, the thug Ryan sat on the bed with an excited smile on his face, but his eyes were a little tired. "So, is this the guild? Immortal Guild, ha ha ha, as long as I work hard and become a full member, maybe I will surpass the 4 emperors in the future. It is not impossible." Ryan laughed excitedly. In the past few days, he has thoroughly explored some of the functions in the guild. After all, many of the functions are the first contact, and there is no knowledge in this area before, so it takes time to explore on his own. But for Ryan, the time is worth it. Open the guild store. With a secret cry in Ryan's heart, the guild store opened in front of his eyes. There were only 4 products in it, very few, but Ryan's eyes were suddenly straight. My God, the divine tool is actually more powerful than the supreme knife. And this void necklace, it can store items, it's incredible. This is the Thunder Skill Book. When seeing the Thunder Skill Book, Ryan's eyes suddenly became hot. That is the Thunder Skill Book. Once you use it, you can have the power to summon thunder. This is an ability that only those who have the ability to eat devil fruit have, but now, it only needs to spend points to get it. And it's not like those demon fruit power, suffering from the curse of the sea. I must buy it. Ryan thought firmly in his heart. He could imagine that once he bought the Thunderfall skill book, his strength would definitely increase at that time, and even some pirates who were previously stronger than him could kill them and plunder their treasures. But thinking that he might be kicked out of the guild at any time, Ryan became a little worried. Time passed slowly. Another day passed. Outside Yezii's room, Ryan arrived, knocked on the door gently, and said respectfully, "Mr. President, Alabasta is here." Silence. No one answered. Ryan knocked on the door again and shouted. But after a while, there was still no answer. Could it be that the president is not in the room? Ryan murmured, and soon he remembered. Maybe the president is in the guild base, but I am not qualified to enter the guild base. How do I notify the president? After thinking about it, Ryan remembered the guild chat function that he had explored yesterday. He could choose people in the guild to chat, voice and video chat. This function is convenient for people in the guild to communicate with each other no matter where they are. After thinking about it, although he was afraid of being punished by the president, Ryan chose to make a video with the president to inform the news of Alabasta's arrival. Soon. Video is on. Ryan immediately saw Yezii in the video. He was sitting on the throne, and behind him was the huge immortal guild leader. In the dim light, it seemed that there was a faint hint of haki. Ryan couldn't help but look startled, and involuntarily revealed adoration in his eyes. Speak. Yezii put his chin on one hand and said indifferently. Lord President, Alabasta is here. Ryan recovered and quickly said respectfully. Okay. Hearing this, Yezii nodded and the video closed. The next moment, Yezii's figure appeared in the room, opened the door, and walked out. When Ryan at the door saw this, he immediately lowered his head and followed behind Yejo. In the past few days, except for eating, Yezii has been in the guild base. The quiet atmosphere and dim light allow him to think about some problems better. On the deck, Yezii looked forward. There was a huge island, and at first glance, there was a huge desert on the island. It's finally here. Yezii stretched out his body, the corners of his mouth raised, and there was a look of anticipation in his eyes. Hope there's devil fruit in Crocodile. Devil fruit is necessary for opening sub-bases and looting, as well as for opening other dungeons. Must be obtained. Turning his head to look at Ryan beside him, Yezii thought about it and said. I'll give you a mission. Lord President, please say that Ryan must complete it. Ryan hurriedly said, and finally came the opportunity to express himself. He had always been worried and didn't know how to satisfy Yezii. Now that the opportunity came, Ryan made up his mind to work hard to complete the task. Seeing this, the pirates behind him widened their eyes and their faces were full of astonishment. How could the captain of his own family be so respectful to others? So surprising. Yezii said lightly. Give you 1 month, 1 month, in Sabayati Archipelago, I need you to find 10 pirate captains before me. Done. Yezii raised his right foot and stepped out. It landed directly on the sea, and then ran towards Alabasta not far ahead. Chapter 10, Crocodile. You can think of this as the protagonist. Nefertari, the royal family of Alabasta, was originally one of the 20 royal families who created the world government 800 years ago, but the Nefertari family refused to move into the Holy Land, so it did not become celestial dragons. This can be regarded as news that few people know. Stepping onto Alabasta, a wave of heat hits his face. At this time, Crocodile should have been here, and his headquarters should be in the most prosperous city in Alabasta, the rainy place. Yezii touched his chin and murmured, confirming the destination, when even the figure disappeared and headed towards the rainy ground. Rain is the base camp of Crocodile. Here is Alabasta's largest casino, the Rain Feast, which is also one of Crocodile's money-giving methods. Many people in the Baroque workshop are demon fruit power, and the Rain Feast must have made a lot of money for Crocodile. Money can train these people. Yezii is extremely fast at full speed. 7 hours later. Rain ground. Yezii arrived here. The destination is also very simple. Go straight to the Rain Feast, this city as the base camp of Crocodile, then the biggest possibility for Crocodile is the Rain Feast. In the past few days, Yezii has set the most important goal at present. Devil fruit. It's just that devil fruit, as the secret treasure on the sea, is undoubtedly looking for a needle in a haystack if you want to find it with your luck. Next, Yezii will invite 2 people to join the guild. The first is Crocodile, and the second is Doflamingo. Both of these individuals have the forces they are working on, and they also have intelligence organizations. You can find devil fruit as soon as possible. Step into the Rain Feast. It can be seen that there is a bustling crowd, most of which are gamblers. Places like casinos are undoubtedly a good place to make money. Many gamblers are gambling and lose all their net worth. This shows that Crocodile has made a profit. How many? With this kind of financial power, Yezii believes that Crocodile must have devil fruit there, and even if it is not, it can also have the financial power to buy devil fruit. Sir, welcome to Yuyan. In the Yuyan, a sexy waiter could not help smiling when he saw Yezii coming. Sorry, I'm not interested in gambling. Yezii curled his lips, and then said. Take me to see Crocodile. See Mr. Crocodile. Upon hearing this, the sexy waiter's eyes suddenly became alert, but he still smiled on the surface. Sorry, Lord Crocodile has already gone out and is not here yet. All the staff in the entire Rain Banquet belong to the Baroque Work Society. Therefore, Crocodile is naturally the first. For unidentified people like Yezii, they will not take Yezii to see Crocodile without authorization. Yezii knew this, didn't care, found a sofa and sat down, beckoning to the waiter, and said. Don't be wary, you just need to report, Crocodile will meet with me and bring me a sentence by the way, just 2 words, Pluton. Sorry sir, I have already said that, Mr. Crocodile is not here. The waiter still smiled and said, still alert in her eyes. Seeing this, Yezii couldn't help but shook his head, and did not answer. It's just that a terrible aura suddenly erupted from his body and pressed towards the waiter lady. For a moment, the waitress felt as if a mountain was pressing over her body, she was even hard to breathe, her face was extremely pale, she knelt directly in front of Yezii, and there was pain in her eyes. I know. The waiter gritted her teeth, and the blood gradually appeared, and said with difficulty. When her voice fell, the terrifying pressure on that body disappeared in an instant. Call. The waiter panted suddenly, dripping with cold sweat. She glanced at Yezii in horror, then she got up with difficulty and hurriedly left. It should have been like this long ago, wasting my time. Yezii curled his lips and looked around with his legs folded. He noticed that many people were looking at this side. They were basically the bodyguards of the Yuyan. Obviously they were just in the situation. Also noticed. But Yezii didn't care, and waited quietly. After a while, the waitress came up with money, lowered her head and said softly. Sir, please come with me. Let's go, I'm getting a little impatient while waiting. Yezii got up and said directly. Upon hearing this, the waiter immediately turned and led the way. Yuyan on the 2nd floor. Yezii was taken outside the door of a room, and the waiter lowered her head and said. Master Crocodile is inside. Yezii nodded and pushed in directly. In the room, the light is dim. There are desks, sofas, coffee tables, and so on. Behind the desk, a man in a suit is sitting there, with his legs cocked, his cigar bit in his mouth, and he is watching this side. This person is naturally Crocodile. Yezii naturally looked over, but soon, he looked away and looked to the other side. In the corner of the room, a slender woman was leaning against the wall with her hands on her shoulders. The woman was not only sexy, but also sexy in her dress, as if she was hiding in the dark, and it was difficult to be spotted. Nicole. Robin. Yezii naturally knew the identity of the woman. Muttering a few words in his heart, he looked away. For Robin, he may not be as interested in Crocodile. After all, Crocodile is a person who can bring him practical help, and Robin, if possible, can also bring help, of course it is a physical help. Are you looking for me? Kid. At this moment, Crocodile asked slowly. Tell me your name and everything you know. About Pluton.